Okay, wife's home. In three, two, one. Welcome to the Left Coast Live. It is Wednesday, July 31st. I am your host, Dieter McBusiness, joined as always by Stat Pat Stateless Patriot. We are California lefties talking to you about national politics today. We're going to start to try to get into some more local stuff as the election day approaches, and my involvement with these campaigns may or may not change. But until then, we're going to talk mostly about national stuff because that's what people want to hear about. So, Stat Pat, we didn't have you on Monday. I'm curious to know why don't you lead us off with your initial opening thoughts here about the VP sweepstakes, which now look like Josh Shapiro is going to win on Tuesday because that's when and where Philadelphia Kamala is going to announce her running mate.
On Tuesday, yeah. So, the likelihood of that happening has just increased, the probability of that anyway. A Kamala Harris aide did come out and say, hey, don't look too much into it. So they could just be pulling a fast one on us, but it is they're trying to get this out of the way before the Ohio deadline, obviously, and I mean all signs are pointing to Shapiro at this point, but I guess there's something to do with SEC filing as well, that basically renders Mark Kelly as moot, I guess. You can't have like a current, I don't know what it is, like something about him being a senator, and filing that with them and having him be on the ticket. I don't think that flies. I forget exactly the nitty gritty of it, the details of it. So I mean, it's very likely that, I mean, it's just, if you apply Occam's razor, it's obvious that doing this in Philadelphia means that she is going to pick Josh Shapiro, which I think would be a terrible choice, honestly. But if that's not the case, and I am holding out hope, because I haven't really seen much when it comes to Josh Shapiro in media appearances, and I think that's kind of telling. You've seen more Andy Bashir, you've seen more Tim Walz, which I think are by far the much more preferable options. This could be just like a campaign stop. Maybe it could be like her showing up and Josh Shapiro just like coming out and endorsing the ticket, whatever it may be. And this is just how the schedule turned up, because like she's on the campaign trail hard right now, and as well as Trump. So it could just be a coincidence, or it could just be like, well, I mean, there goes our hopes of a better VP pick than Shapiro. But we'll see it. We won't exactly know until we get there, obviously. So I'm still holding out hope. But yeah, keeping us on our toes, like at the edge of our seat. I mean that's their goal anyway. It's good politics. Keep people excited for it and anticipating the reveal, regardless.
I think the Democrats, whether it was intentional or not, have managed the timeline incredibly well. They got so lucky with this unprecedented debate being in late June.
Mm-hmm.
And exposing Biden as mentally incompetent.
Yeah.
Just would have been the weakest nominee in American political history after that debate. And then instead of him dropping out before the Republican convention, and that convention being all about Kamala or whoever Biden's presumed replacement would have been, whatever.
Yeah.
It was all about Biden. And so him dropping out after the convention made their convention a complete waste of time. The only thing that came out of the convention was J.D. Vance, which is a human indication that they did not think Biden was going to drop out. They would not have picked Vance, I don't think, if they thought Biden was going to stay in. It shows you how stupid they are for not thinking that the Democrats would have Biden drop out after that debate performance, or like even just being prepared. They're obviously scrambling. They have no idea how to deal with this situation, and that's because there's no basic blueprint. Like, if you go into a crisis situation and you have at least some rough idea of like the initial response, what the initial response should be, then everything's a lot more manageable. But because they've been so blindsided, they don't know what to do.
Right. Yeah. I mean, even if Biden stayed in the race, J.D. Vance is a really bad choice because, like, you have Ohio wrapped up. If you want to, sure, you want to appeal to those Rust Belt states, but a lot of those go your way anyway. Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, West Virginia. So it's like, I think Trump let his he ignored his instincts, and I think that's really frustrating him right now because he was originally going to go with Doug Burgum, the North Dakota governor, which probably would have been a much better choice. Like, he comes off as a moderate. He did actually come off like very much more moderate in those Republican primary debates. It would have been he would have played well for like the donor class as well. But his son's got in his ear, Trump's ear, as well as Tucker Carlson and Elon Musk, who were all fans of J.D. Vance. And now that this has happened, you're seeing the repercussions of it. And like Trump has too much pride to take it back now. I don't think he's going to drop J.D. Vance. I think he's going to stick with him to the end and just bear the brunt of his mistake because he doesn't make mistakes, you know. So it's you know, he has to live with it, and it's not going well for them right now. J.D. Vance is very unpopular.
I think the other layer of the J.D. Vance issue, I think the other layer of the J.D. Vance screw up was that they were stupid enough to think, because remember, conservatism is nothing more than superficial analytical intellectualism.
Yeah.
So at a superficial level, you think, oh, he's young, we'll get young voters. I guarantee you, whichever brother was pitching J.D. Vance the hardest wanted to talk about how the youth vote would show up for him, or he would at least help them with it. And there's no indication that that's the case.
Not really. I wouldn't think so either. I mean, if anything, like, their main focus should be getting back the women vote because of Roe v. Wade, and, you know, Trump is like squirming and he's like hodgepodge, you know, mealy mouth about it, you know. Oh, well, I mean, I believe we should leave it up to the states, blah blah blah. And meanwhile, J.D. Vance is not only pushing for a straight up national ban on abortion, but wants to criminalize women moving, like, crossing state lines in order to get an abortion. And that doesn't play well to the campaign at all, because if Trump's trying to faux this moderate position, you know, like, just leave it up to the states. I want to do a national ban. That's extreme. That's the severe right, he calls it. You know what the Heritage Foundation is pushing for. But picking J.D. Vance kind of, you know, it shows that he doesn't actually believe that. Like, he didn't really think this pick through at all, because J.D. Vance is an extremist on abortion, and like if anything, they should have gone for someone who would have been a moderate on the case of abortion. Yeah, Mr. Lone Wolf says tech support maybe, youth support not really. Yeah, I agree.
Connection sucks a little bit.
Yeah, I'm coming a little bit slow. What's up?
It's weird, the tech
Yeah, yeah, it is a little weird.
Yeah, you're just a little bit behind me. The tech support for JD. Let's talk about Kamala going to Philly on Tuesday and announcing her VP. So this was one thing you were talking about earlier. I think they've managed the calendar really well in terms of trading for politically savvy people like you and me. We wanted to see history.
Yeah,
We wanted to see an open convention. But of course, at how much time she would have lost raising money and getting the word out and teasing the VP. It's
yeah,
like you take all of the excitement that would have happened at an open convention and you spread it across a month. And that's fine. It's not what I wanted. I wanted the big explosion. I wanted the boom, boom, president, vice president in 4 days. But that obviously was never going to happen, and the mass media just crushed that narrative in
yeah,
less than 24 hours of Biden dropping out.
yeah. No, basically, like,
But it's funny because Obama held out and didn't give his endorsement until recently.
right, because I don't even think Kamala Harris was even going to be like the first choice. And honestly, like, all this could have been avoided if an actual primary was held.
It wasn't his first choice.
Yeah, and like, because Biden said himself at the beginning of
Right.
his term, like even before he was elected, that he wouldn't be. He would just serve like one term, and he confirmed it. He confirmed it in the interview earlier this month. Like I signaled, like I would have been a one term president. I forget exactly what he said, but like he basically admitted it. Like the plan wasn't for him to like serve 2 terms, like from the beginning. So I mean, as much as it would have been like interesting to see an open convention, it could have been resolved in the freaking primaries, you know. But I don't know what happened, you know. Like he just like nobody stepped up and be like, well, what the heck? Didn't you say this and now you're running? Like, why not? You know, why not hand it off to someone else? And like, yeah. But I agree. It would have been a lot more difficult, like if like during an open convention, for them to actually like raise money and like just basically start fresh and whatnot. So it is smart for him to like pass it down to Kamala. Yeah, there's
Walls or Bashir, now that the announcement is happening in Philadelphia on Tuesday? Because I don't know if I have any hope. I think it's pretty much over. I think it's 90%. Yeah, I would bet
well,
if for not for Shapiro, for Walls. I bet he's got 10-1 odds of
I think
of
like even if she does,
getting the nomination. Popular. How popular is Shapiro in Philadelphia?
well, like statewide, I know that he does have like a 60 something percent favorability rating. But I think of it like this. I think I think the biggest thing when it comes to Shapiro is his Israel-Palestine stance, and that's going to turn off a lot of progressive and younger voters,
Yes.
especially like in Michigan.
Well, we'll see how much they care about us.
No, of course, because like that movement in Michigan, the undecided or uncommitted. I think it was the uncommitted vote. I think that's going to stick if Shapiro ends up getting picked to an extent, because ultimately, like if you saw Kamala's speech after she met with Benjamin Netanyahu, she did like have a rather not so much a tough stance, but a firm stance. Like she actually brought up like the need to like for Palestinians to be treated like people, and that like anti-Semitism as well as Islamophobia needs to be quelled, basically, and like laid out like her full and explicit support for the ceasefire deal that Biden put together, and even went through the phases in the speech herself, like just to emphasize the importance of getting it through and getting it passed and whatnot. And the biggest roadblock to that right now is Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu. So, like, even if she does pick Shapiro, she still is more progressive than Biden.
I can't stand the Zionism. Okay, so I was thinking, let's come up with a list of like just like top five things that she could get done that we would just have, because there's so many crises going on.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, number one right now in terms of foreign policy is, and it's to some extent domestic policy. This relationship with Israel has huge consequences across the country.
Yeah.
And visible. But there's clearly a lot of powerful people that have got Israel's back one way or another. Plenty of people who aren't Jewish, by the way, but are still Zionists. Look at all of evangelical America. I think they would probably call themselves
right
Zionists. Relationship, that would be fantastic. And
yeah,
I don't know what would happen with Ukraine. I think Ukraine's just going to be a slog. Ukraine is just going to be one of those. It's going to be like Afghanistan. It's another Afghanistan, basically, except it's just way more developed.
Yeah, no, of course. And MZS King says she talked about a two-state solution and that we need to completely remove the Israeli military from Gaza. She also said that we can't numb ourselves to the innocents lost in Palestine too, which is way better than anything Biden said. And she also acknowledged that children have been killed as well. That's right. Like, you never heard Biden mention any of this. Like, it was outright denial or just the most timid, like, just soft, like, both sides at most flowery language. Sure, like, he did eventually come on board with a ceasefire, but it is promising, regardless if she does choose a less preferable VP pick, that she will be a much better she'll be much better overall on the issue of Israel Palestine, because now that Biden's out of the way, I think real movement can actually be made on the issue as a whole, because this has been a long time coming. Israel has been abusing the United States for decades at this point, and it's time for a change. And as catastrophic as it has been, like, if this like October 7th was the catalyst for it and Israel's response to it. So I don't know, I'm cautiously optimistic.
I wonder if I could try to make a video. The problem is we're just not big enough to make it known, but I wish we had an access point. You know who actually has met in this world that we're in? You know who has met Kamala Harris? Is David Pakman. And I can't stand David Pakman.
Yeah, not anymore.
So I can call in a favor. And he's a Zionist anyway, so he wouldn't even do this. But basically, her trajectory has been going up.
Yes.
Ever since she got endorsed by Biden after he dropped out.
Yeah.
If she were to pick Shapiro, of all of the big three, that would be the first time she takes a hit.
Yes.
Because we progressives like to run our mouths.
Yeah.
So we're going to speak up if she doesn't deliver on either Bashir or Walz. The thing that we talked about on Monday with the American Progressive is my idea that the VP has tremendous value in a modern-day White House as long as, or because, the public does not expect them to run for president. There's only one guy in the big three that you know would not run for president. And I'm glad Mark Kelly is kind of quietly been removed from this conversation.
Sure.
Never liked him. You
Yeah.
weren't going to win Arizona because of him. He's not like some son of Arizona. He's not like a John McCain of Arizona. Or
Right.
Give me a break.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to guarantee you Arizona. That would have been the only reason to pick him. Oh, he's an astronaut. And he was in the Navy. Okay.
Right.
How is he on TV?
Yeah, no kidding. And I'm also
And
reminded.
by the way, I'm realizing with this. Sorry. Go ahead. You go.
No, it's all good. Yeah. Bit of a delay. I got 5 people watching. I appreciate you guys for joining. Just a heads up, my computer sucks. I can't wait to get a new one. But I'm reminded by MZS King here. Did you hear that Harris plans on removing a lot of Biden's cabinet too, with some pretty big Zionists included in that? And yeah, that's actually true. A lot of Biden's cabinet is going to be replaced, and that includes people that are part of his foreign policy task force, like for lack of a better term.
Fresh start, baby.
Yeah, no,
It's going to be
yeah,
a great. It's going to be a great fresh start.
exactly.
It's going to be a great
I
fresh
believe
start,
Kirby.
man. She's a
Yeah, no, I believe Kirby and what's his name, the Secretary of State, I believe. What's his name? God, his name escapes me, but I think like those two are.
Blinken.
Yes, Anthony Blinken. Yeah, yeah.
Blinken.
Yep, that's right. If those two are gone, that'd be great.
Step out. We got to get you some upgraded tech, man. We got to upgrade your tech, man.
Oh, yeah.
You got to check to make sure you're getting the best possible Wi-Fi. I don't know if you're getting. You got to get the best Wi-Fi money can buy.
Yeah.
All right. So let me talk here for a second. So
Sure.
Here's the thing. Here's a couple things. Okay. Then we'll watch some stuff. Let's go watch Kamala. Let's see our little angel here, Kamala Angel Harris. I like that. Angel Harris. Why not?
Yeah.
You know how I think, like marketing, like let's come up with some buzzwords or something like that.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say Angel Harris maybe is because I've got a beautiful woman who ethically has the ability to create peace because she is a woman. In other words, she might be in a better position rhetorically to make peace in the Middle East actually happen because she is a woman. That might be one, maybe the only political context where a woman, because she is the United States president, can walk into a room and say, hi, you're going to do what we want. And I'm not going to go public with this threat, but if you don't do what we want, I'm going to take away weapons for like 20 years or something. I would say 100 because that's the kind of guy I am, but she would probably say something like that.
The fact that she threatens them with peace is like such a big. That's going to be a big sticking point when it comes to her approach on geopolitics and foreign policy. And I'm reminded again. Thank you, MZS King. I really, really, really appreciate your input. Apparently, some of the people Harris plans to bring in are people who got us the Iran nuclear deal, which was like a big, big step in normalizing relations with them, and also tried to normalize relationships with Cuba as well. So. If she does get those people in, like that's going to be just fantastic. We can repair the bullshit left over from Trump because he ruined progress that Obama made on Cuba as well as Iran, and it's just been a slow but steady process in like just rekindling just the effort to normalize relations with both countries. MZS also says even though she's bringing them in, though Obama was notoriously bad economically, so I'm hoping she'll be able to balance the economic superiority of Biden and the international political superiority of Obama. At least during his second term, Obama's second term was much better internationally than his first. That's for sure. But like because Biden was definitely a lot better on the economy than Trump was, as well as it, he. I mean, just like on labor alone, like he's done so much, and like if Kamala Harris like carries on the momentum that Biden created, then that would be that's the least I could ask for.
All right, would you like to see our Angel Harris take the podium in her most recent public appearance? I haven't seen it, so would you like to have a listen?
Yes.
We'll watch on 2X, otherwise this would be insufferably long. We'll do 1.5.
We'll do like 1.5. Yeah.
Good evening, Georgia.
Georgia. Atlanta, Georgia, baby. Hotlanta. The ATL. That's what
I'd be so happy if we win Georgia again. That'd be great.
Thank you.
She's loving it, by the way. Kamala is absolutely loving it.
Yeah, I think she appeared at a Megan Thee Stallion
concert into this situation.
Right?
Thank
Yeah.
You, thank you. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Oh, it's good to be back.
Oh
in
yeah,
Georgia.
they're good. Quavo and Megan Thee Stallion.
Thank you, everyone. Can we please hear
Nice.
from Tyler? I want to thank Tyler for that incredible introduction. I invited him and several other young entrepreneurs to come and visit with me at the White House, and we had a really very long and important conversation about the future of America. And Tyler, you represent the best of our future. Thank you for that. Thank you. And please give it up for Quavo.
All right, so she's definitely getting really good coaching because I've been paying attention to her for years, and she's never. I know this is on 1.5 speed, but I can just tell anyway because I watch enough stuff fast. She's way better at timing. Her timing and letting the audience communicate with her. There's a expression in stand-up comedy, what's the most important thing? Your relationship with the audience. Same is true for any public speaking experience, especially when it's not entirely scripted or in very many cases not scripted at all. That's what I want to really see. I want to see her without the teleprompter. That's what I'm excited to see, how good she really is. But she's doing great with the warm-up right now.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
And Megan. Let me also thank our incredible members of Congress who are with us this evening. Senator John Ossoff, Senator Raphael Warnock, and Representative Nikema Williams.
Okay, so just so we're being transparent about people's backgrounds, because I think if we're going to get ahead of a lot of cultural issues in society, we just got to have a more detailed approach. But Warnock got a little screwed in that race. Warnock got the short 2-term, had to run for re-election 2 years after he won the Senate seat. Ossoff got handed a 6-year term, and Ossoff is a guy from privilege in Atlanta. I know that. I don't know how much, but I know he went to a very, very nice private high school. And Warnock, meanwhile, is a black minister. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Always felt uncomfortable about that. Never sat with me right. I think Warnock's very talented, and I'm glad to hear he's getting some face time because he deserves it. He's very good for the left.
It does play into the moderate voters' favor, I suppose. I mean, a background like that, especially in Georgia communities, I think I have a really good feeling about Georgia. I don't know if the polls currently reflect it, but I think give it a little bit of time and a lot of campaigning, Georgia will be a very sweet reward for the Democrats 2 elections in a row.
Oh, damn it.
Ray Dickens, thank you for welcoming me back to Atlanta. And thank you to the great Stacey Abrams. extraordinary leadership.
Stacey Abrams thought she was going to
So,
be
Georgia,
VP.
it is so good to be back, and I am very clear.
I know, right?
The path to the White House runs right through this state. And you all helped us win in 2020, and we're going to do it again in 2024. Yes, we will. So let's get right down. So I'm gonna get into some business now. Okay, I'm gonna get into some business now.
She's so
All
much
right.
more comfortable.
So Georgia,
Right, yeah.
as many of you know,
She's hyped.
before and have a seat if you have a chair.
Okay, you know what the key to being a great public speaker is? If you have a, let me just give her a little bit better feeling. She's actually really cute. If you have a camera-friendly person with a good personality, I don't think she has a problem with this, or she has fine-tuned it in a way, but there's a level of entitlement that public speakers embrace
Yes.
that I think, I don't want to say it's like a good king holding court, but it's not that different. It's about, she starts
Yeah.
off sharing attention. She gets to be the center of attention really for the entire country, at least people who are paying politics, for the next 20 minutes. And they're going to highlight all of this in the news anyway. So she gets an opportunity to weigh in and communicate with the American public in a superlative way.
Yeah,
All this
you
momentum.
need
Even
to have.
right-wing America's watching this stuff.
Yeah, you need to have a commanding presence for damn sure, especially if you're running for the highest office in the land. Like you need to control that room. Like honestly, like the charisma, the charm, and the forceful, direct rhetoric and story building. All this plays into like favorability. Like if you're lacking these things when it comes to like making a speech and whatnot, like you have to be, like come off relaxed. You have to come off as natural. It really plays into what people think about you. Like if you seem nervous or off, or if you come off as like forcing points or jokes or whatever, people pick up on that. Like it's easy to get turned off by that, I guess you could say.
And I'll just reiterate my point that I started with, and I was maybe not explicit enough about it, but Kamala Harris is a great example of someone with good natural talent that was maybe a little arrogant and didn't think she needed coaching to
Probably.
develop that natural talent.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. She's a little arrogant.
Took
Come
a little
on.
time. Yeah.
Cute girls like that are a little arrogant. It's okay. And since she was a little bit humbled by the Biden administration keeping her out of the spotlight for a good 2.5 years there,
For the most part, yeah.
I think she was maybe humbled by that, or someone got to her and was like, look, I know this person, so-and-so, be completely private, no one will know about it. And if you do some like acting exercises and some stand-up comedy exercises, there's all these kinds of things that make you get away from what are people thinking of me? What are people feeling about me? Obsessing over how you are being perceived. The reason people love rock stars in interviews, why? Because they don't give a fuck. They don't have anything to prove. They already proved it. The marketplace proved it for them. They came up with something that was great. They created something that was great. Everybody loved it and bought it and paid for it, and they got rich and famous. Bada bing, bada boom. Capitalism at its finest. Rewarding exceptional artists. That is capitalism at its best.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it doesn't treat artists who aren't superlative so well. But that's another conversation. Let's get back to Angel Harris.
Sure.
As many of you know, before I was elected vice president and before I was elected a United States senator, I was an elected attorney general and an elected district attorney. And before that, I was a courtroom prosecutor. So in those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds. predators who abuse women, fraudsters who ripped off consumers, cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
Yeah, everybody saw that. Strong opening, Kamala. Is it Kamala or Kamala? It's Kamala.
It's Kamala. And I love how she's like sticking it to the fact that Trump is a creepo and a criminal, and that's going to help her big, because it's like it calls out the hypocrisy of the not only Trump and the Republicans, but the Republican base as well.
Colleges that was scamming students. Well, Donald Trump ran a for-profit college that scammed students. As a prosecutor, I specialize in child sexual abuse cases and sexual abuse.
Yeah.
You got to disconnect and reconnect. I'm going to keep watching this and disconnect and reconnect.
Okay, I'll try that.
Sexual abuse cases. Well,
damn, no kidding.
Trump was found liable for
shit sucks. Chat, you want to buy me a new computer? Alright, let's do this.
In that job, I walked underground tunnels between the United States and Mexico on that border with law enforcement officers. I went after transnational gangs, drug cartels, and human traffickers that came into our country illegally. I prosecuted them in case after case, and I won.
Better.
Donald Trump.
Yeah, feels better.
Donald Trump, on the other hand, has been talking a big game about securing our border, but he does not walk the walk. Or as my friend Quavo would say,
can you kill that light that you just turned on?
Yeah,
that
one. Like he talks it.
That's better. Walk it like he talks, like my friend Quavo. Yeah, everyone saw this. Quavo. I had to look up who Quavo was.
Our administration worked on the most significant border security bill in decades. Some of the most conservative Republicans
so here's
in
the
Washington,
sacrificial lamb. So this is the sacrificial lamb of the Democratic Party, is the southern border. They just will not look. Well, it looks like there's hope for Israel also no longer being an issue that they're just willing to forfeit on, in terms of forfeiting to the truth.
Mm-hmm.
That the southern border is actually a really important part of our economy. I don't understand it in a sophisticated way, but I do know that, first off, we always have a lot of immigrants. And secondly, a lot of those immigrants come in and take jobs and work hard and contribute to the economy. And it is fundamentally good for our economy to have a healthy supply of immigrants. So my issue has always been with immigration is we need to find a distribution system, because it's just not fair, and it's not also smart, I think, to have just high concentrations of immigrants on border states.
Yeah.
It's just, you got to spread it out.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of jobs in rural America that immigrants could take that that a lot of other people don't want to take. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. It especially has to do with just the processing. It's so slow. There's not enough judges to oversee the cases and whatnot. There's been build up for years and years, and it hasn't really been improved much at all. I think they might have did something about it, like they did hire more judges, but that might be me thinking about the border bill that was introduced earlier this year or sometime last year, and eventually got changed to the border bill that was almost went to the Senate, but Trump came in and had all the Republicans and whatnot vote against it, even though it was like a big giveaway to them because he wanted a campaign issue. He wanted the Republicans to fearmonger about the border, and I tell you what, it works. It works. Like I still see it everywhere. All the time. Like conservatives and Republican voters are just endlessly harp away about it.
I don't even think the popularity of just everyone who isn't progressive being almost assuming that the southern border is indeed a crisis without looking at the data and without looking at the fact that it's been this way for a really long time and we haven't tried new things to solve it. It's just... It has less to do with them thinking, and maybe for the conservatives, they think it's because immigrants are criminals, maybe. But both Republicans and Democrats who are down with thinking of the southern border as a crisis think of immigrant citizens or immigrants who aren't citizens as less than them. They do think of them as less American. They won't admit it. No neoliberal Democrat's ever going to admit that they actually do kind of a little bit look at an immigrant like less of an American, not less of a human, just less of an American, less worthy of the benefits of being an American citizen.
And that's like,
and then there's another level. If they are an immigrant citizen, they maybe go up a little bit. But if they're an immigrant, citizen or not, there's a lot of people on the left who think, they won't say it, but they think that any kind of immigrant, or especially immigrants who aren't citizens, are lesser American and hurting the system.
I would, left as in... relative to the Republican Party for sure. I would agree with that. Neoliberals and corporate centrists and whatnot. Yeah, because like a lot of them are very much sheltered, very much more of the elite class. They do have like more of an elitist attitude, but they can't come off that way because they understand that they need that voter block or those voter blocks for whoever. Name the demographic or whatever, so yeah, it does come off ultimately it is somewhat disingenuous, but at least like they're paying lip service to the needs of resolving the issue of immigration and the border, etc., and everything on top of that.
On the most significant border security bill in decades. Some of the most conservative Republicans
in Washington, D.C. We want walls.
Even the Border Patrol endorsed
We want walls, Jordan.
It was all set to pass. But at the last minute, Trump directed his allies in the Senate to vote it down. Right. He tanked the...
Don't you just love still the implicit cultural assumption that if we pass a big bill, the problem will be solved, or at least the problem will get better long term. That's what most people think. At best, that border bill would have made things better short term. There's no way it would have been better long term, and we would not have been proud of ourselves had we passed it anyway.
Yeah, it was just like it was literally just us playing chicken with the Republican Party and just daring them to vote for it. No, like it was very, very smart politics by Chuck Schumer, because he knew that like immigration is their bread and butter, and by giving them everything that they wanted, because they don't want fucking solutions, they want scapegoats. Like they want excuses. They want to fearmonger, and it has been an ongoing wedge issue for them for a while, and they want to keep it that way. They want to fix it. Like if only like it'd be wonderful if the voter base at the very least can fucking learn to understand that.
Because he thought it would help him win
Tim
an
Walz.
election.
Tim Walz is our favorite pick.
Which goes to show Donald Trump does not care
Fingers
about border
crossed.
security. He only cares about himself. And when I am president, I will work to actually solve the problem. So here is my pledge to you. As president, I will bring back.
Do you think if she does get elected, her first order of business is going to be a border bill? What do we think her first order of business would be?
I'm not
I guess
sure.
it depends on the outcome of the congressional elections.
Well,
how much power she's going to have in Congress
I'm-
and in the Senate.
No. It's definitely going to depend on the outcome of the Senate and the House. But I imagine, like, once the election results come in November, like, they got 3 months to come up with their first 100 days. I think I might be mistaken on this, but I think, like, within the last, like, month or so, before Biden actually dropped out, he actually came up with his first 100 days of his second term. I could be wrong on that. I might have seen some reporting on that, but I don't think there's anything to that. I could be
Bill that
wrong.
Donald Trump killed, and I will sign it into law.
And I just wonder, like, how
that
much
Donald Trump
it'll
killed.
differ
And I
She's
from
going
pledge
to promise
to you.
something.
hers.
She's going to promise something. Hold on.
As president, I will bring back the border security bill that Donald Trump killed, and I will sign it into law.
No, don't do that. No.
Donald Trump, what really
Well, there's her
We've had
fucking
some polling
answer.
that said it was super popular. There must have been some serious polling that told her that America really wanted that bill to happen. Ghosts
God.
of bipartisanship showing up, guys. The ghosts of bipartisanship is Kamala Harris. in
Right. Well,
Can
I
she
mean,
get rid of those ghosts? Can she get rid of those ghosts? Because we gotta kill bipartisanship, man. Enough. It's not about the politics of compromise anymore. It's not. It's about the politics of crushing the GOP.
yeah.
Crushing them. They cannot be reasoned with.
If she means it, if she means what she says here, and bringing back that border bill, I hope that the Progressive Caucus votes it down and is like, no, there's no goddamn way. This is a giveaway to the right. This is a giveaway to Republicans. A lot of this needs to be amended. So, like, if she's serious about bringing it back, I hope that it goes nowhere.
She'll make changes. She'll make changes.
Yeah.
leadership looks like. But make no mistake, this campaign is not just about us versus Donald Trump. Truly, this campaign is about two very different visions for our nation.
Democracy versus fascism.
One focused on the future, the other focused on the past.
Yeah, that works too.
We believe in a future where every person has the opportunity to build a business, to own a home, to build intergenerational wealth, a future with affordable health care, affordable child care, paid leave.
There we go.
Intergenerational wealth we need to talk about for a second. Intergenerational wealth being required for any person to be successful is an indication of the failure of our version of capitalism. I don't know if capitalism can work close to perfectly at like an A- level. I'd say we're at like a C- level right now. But the idea that you need generational wealth to become successful in any subculture in America, it could be WASP, it could be Irish Catholic, Roman Catholic, it could be black, Latino, it doesn't matter. Yes, she's right that those communities do need generational wealth to create one percenters, but the fact that that's required shows how stupid this version of capitalism is. It shouldn't be required at all. There should just be enough educational opportunities for you to get out of where you came from, go somewhere where there's good work for you, make a good living, and retire comfortably. Not everyone cares about becoming worth $10 million. You know, a lot of people, $1 million is enough. So it's fine. I know she's talking this way. It's fine. But I just want to snip in that having come from generational wealth, it doesn't fundamentally. Yes, I know it. You need it in other communities more. Absolutely, no question about it. But the effect that it has on individuals, regardless of whether they were born into it or if they earned it themselves, is a negative on American society.
Yeah,
and we need to find a way to tap into that generational wealth for the benefit of everybody, not just for the special members of these marginalized communities. We got to. It's too specific, is my point. It's too granular. It's not. It's a buzzword, and I don't think people really know what it means.
Yeah. Generally, like, people just want the cost of living to go down. Like, it's like,
there you go.
I'll have to tell you about. I got a phone bank call from, I'm pretty sure, Kevin Lincoln for Congress, who is a Republican. He's actually the mayor of the city over from me, and yeah, I went over a lot of polling questions. We'll probably have to go over it a little bit after finishing this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And all of this is to say, building up the middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency. Because we here all know, when our middle class is strong, America is strong.
She's hitting buzzwords now because she's in the middle.
Our middle class strong, families need relief from the high cost of living so that they have a chance
talking about.
To get by, but to get ahead.
Here we go. Yes. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, but what's the specific piece of policy? What does that policy actually look like?
Right.
But to get ahead. And yes, it is true that by many indicators, our economy is the strongest in the world. But while inflation is down and wages are up, prices are still too high.
Yeah.
You know it and I know it.
We're doing
And
price
when we win this election, here's
controls.
what we're going to do about
Here we go.
it.
Okay, here we go.
On day one, I
give her
will
a
take
chance.
on price gouging and bring down costs.
Okay.
All right. Can you price freeze?
We will ban more of those hidden fees and surprise late charges that banks and other companies use to pad their profits.
Oh, that is something.
We will take on corporate landlords and cap unfair rent increases.
Okay, there we go.
All right.
Yeah, I heard.
We will take on
I heard.
minimum wage. Cap
Rent control and minimum wage are the biggest ones.
Yeah, I heard. The Biden-Harris camp, the White House, I guess you could say, they propose a cap at 5% of rent increasing per year. So like you can't increase rent more than 5% a year, basically. And I think that would work. That would do wonders.
Should be 3%. It should be 3%.
Yeah, but like just in contrast, like for example, like I actually came across this by accident, but I lived in a 2-story, 5-bed, 3-bath house, and the rent was $21.50 a month. This is back in 2020, and that's kind of unheard of nowadays. Same house, same place. Like, I actually delivered pizza there. And I actually asked the tenant there, like, hey, I actually used to live here. Can you mind, if you don't mind me asking, what's the rent, the current rent right now? And I believe he told me it was $2,800. That's a 25% increase from 2020.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's
the
fucking
reason why
insane.
The reason why I say it should be 3% instead of 5% is because once you bring down their ability to raise rent to the extent they already have it, changing the status quo, they're just going to raise rent every time.
Yeah.
So it should probably even be less. It should probably be just 2% because those landlords are just going to do 12-month leases and they're going to raise it every time you want to renew.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
They're never going to give you a long-term, and maybe they'll give you a long-term lease if you're willing to, price out someone if it's a competitive place. But most people don't live in competitively housing. They live in marginal housing and like condos and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just did the math again. Like, it's actually like more of like a 33% increase, which is fucking like still insane.
third. Yeah, that's a third.
Yeah,
Our
yeah.
plan will lower costs and save many middle-class families thousands of dollars a year. But Donald Trump has a different plan in mind. One that would raise prices on middle-class families. Just look at his Project 2025 agenda. I take it you've seen it.
I mean, this is so
Project 2025 is a
refreshing.
plan to weaken the middle class. Be clear.
Like, it's so standard.
And Donald Trump intends to cut Social Security.
But like, Biden wasn't talking like this. Biden wasn't campaigning like this. I mean,
Biden couldn't string sentences together.
right? Like, you know, she's reminding me of when I saw Bernie Sanders come to Sacramento back in 2019 on his campaign trail, and like, she's basically talking just like him, bringing up issues and what the Republicans think about it, and this and that, and we're going to do something about it. Here's exactly what we're going to do about it. So I welcome this. It's encouraging.
Security and Medicare. Be clear. And Donald Trump intends to cut Social Security and Medicare. He intends to give tax breaks to billionaires and big corporations. He intends to gut our investments in clean energy jobs. He intends to end the Affordable Care Act, to take us back to a time when insurance companies had the power to deny people with pre-existing conditions. You guys remember what that was? Children with asthma, breast cancer survivors, grandparents with diabetes. Georgia, America has tried these failed policies before, and we are not going back.
That is a good tagline. That's a really good tagline for the camp.
Nice.
Yeah, good.
Very good. We are not going back.
That is great. Yeah, Jordan says, I really hope Trump debates Kamala. I really want to see it happen so bad. That'd be amazing.
I think he's not going to have we'll talk about, I don't think he's going to have a choice. We'll talk about why in a minute.
Yeah.
Back because ours is a fight for the future, and it is a fight for freedom. Across our nation, we are witnessing a full-on assault on hard-fought, hard-won freedoms and rights. The freedom to vote, the freedom to be safe from gun violence, the freedom to live without fear of bigotry and hate.
Yeah.
I actually didn't make this comparison, I'm proud to say, until just now, but at a very base level, isn't this light years ahead of where Hillary Clinton was when she ran for president for the third time? I guess it was the second time. She was never rhetorically gifted. Kamala, on the other hand, has been working on her game.
Big time.
Really coming together.
It's impressive.
The freedom to love who you love openly and with pride.
Beyond my expectations.
The freedom to learn and acknowledge our true and full history. And the freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do.
Bingo! Fuck big government. All my homies hate big government.
For future and for freedom. And I don't have to tell folks in Atlanta that generations of Americans before us led the fight for freedom. And now, the baton is in our hands.
That's right. Our time.
Each and every one of us. And we love our country. We love our country. And I believe it is the highest form of patriotism to fight for the ideals of our country. And so, we who believe in the sacred freedom to vote will finally pass the Freedom to Vote Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. We who believe in the freedom to live safe from gun violence will finally pass universal background checks, red flag laws, and an assault weapons ban.
We're doing the laundry list now that we got away from the hot. It's almost like you can tell the priorities of the DNC based on polling in the order in which she's presenting this. So these are the same promises, and we'll see. The counterpoint that they would make fairly is that they've never had the political power to actually get a lot of this stuff passed, but isn't that still on them?
Right.
We who believe in reproductive freedom will stop Donald Trump's extreme abortion bans, and when Congress passes a law to restore reproductive freedoms, as President of the United States, I will sign it into law.
There we go.
She reminds me a little bit of
So November 5th is in 98 days. So, in 98 days, and let's level set, friends, let's level set. We have a fight in front of us. And we are the underdogs in this race. We are. But you see, this is a people-powered campaign. Ours is a people-powered campaign.
Hundreds
in fact,
of
after I
millions
announced
of
my
dollars
candidacy,
poured
we
in.
saw the best week of grassroots fundraising in presidential campaign history.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, that just proves we were right the whole time. Those fundraising numbers are just like bold action. I was talking to Progressive American on
The
Monday.
vindication.
He was very honest that he was not pleading with Biden to get out. And I'm like, well, we were. I made a special video about it. We were trying to get out.
Yeah.
I was looking to see if I had any way of getting a message to anyone in the White House. I was like knocking down doors trying to make it happen, and thank God it did.
Yeah.
And if you go to KamalaHarris.com, you can help us build on that success. So the momentum in this race is shifting. And there are
sure
signs
is.
that Donald Trump is feeling it.
Yep.
You may have noticed.
Yeah. Speaking of which, he
So
keeps on
last week, you
shooting
may have
himself in the
seen,
foot.
He pulled
Yeah, no,
out of the debate in September.
Jordan says, did y'all watch Trump at the NABJ, the National Association of Black Journalists? He was invited there
No.
to be interviewed. Oh my God.
We'll check that out next.
It
We'll
was
check that out
Remember, he had
next.
previously agreed
disaster.
to. So here's the thing. Here's the funny thing about that. So he won't debate. But he and his running mate sure seem to have a lot to say about me. And by the way, don't you find some of their stuff to just be plain weird?
they're playing into it.
Well, Donald, I do hope you'll reconsider to meet me on the debate stage.
Okay, so she gets a straight A for the first third, she gets a B for the middle, and she gets an A minus for the end, unless she blows me away here in this next minute and 40 seconds.
Because as the saying goes, if you got something to say, say it to my face.
Oh yeah, I saw this part. Oh yeah, so A minus.
Sticking the landing, yeah.
Yeah, A minus. Good job. Hey, the first and last parts are always the most important, so well done, Kamala.
Thank you. So, Georgia, in the next 98 days, we have our work cut out for us. And this is not going to be easy. This is hard work, but we like hard work. Hard work is good work. So, Georgia, today I ask you, are you ready to get to work? Do we believe in freedom? Do we believe in opportunity? Do we believe in the promise of America? And are we ready to fight for it? And when we fight, we win. God bless you. God bless the United States.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, my girlfriend's watching right now. She just told me, I think I like Kamala. I know it's probably her knowing how to sell herself, but I'm down as fuck.
All right. Well, should we do the Trump one? I had Shapiro because he sounds like Obama, but
Yeah.
others have made that observation already, so we don't need to go and rehash that. Let's check out the recommendation of our viewer to watch Trump's interview at the NABJ. And we're going to watch
a
it on.
decades-long tradition during election years of inviting journalists to discuss the policies and their impact with the candidates who are running for president, and the impact of those policies, especially in black communities. Former Presidents George W. Bush,
fact,
Barack
she's on
Obama, and Bill
Fox
Clinton
News,
had
by the
attended the
way.
NABJ
Yeah,
either as presidents or as presidential candidates in past years. NABJ is currently in conversation with Vice President Kamala Harris.
Yeah, so this is
schedule a Q&A
the
either in person
National
or
Association of Black Journalists, and I saw highlights of this interview, and I cannot believe he agreed to do this. Like, he just shoots himself in the foot multiple times, comes off as a pompous.
It,
Well, I tweeted about this. I said, you want to know how to hold someone's feet to the fire? You want to see how the media should hold politicians and presidential candidates accountable? Look no further than how the NABJ interviewed Trump. Excellent work.
Or virtually in September. As journalists, we use opportunities like these both to inform our reporting, but also to help voters understand the choices that they face in real time. Again, the hashtag nominee for president. Thank you.
not getting an applause.
Oh, hey, Gorillas. That's Tomorrow
Mr.
Comes
President, we
Today.
so
Good
appreciate you
song.
giving us an hour of your time. I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who are American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabbit to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question so in such a horrible manner. First question. Hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network. It's terrible. And you don't even. Well, first of all.
Oh.
We're gonna listen to this to Trump on normal speed.
Well, I don't think I've ever been asked a
I'm a
question
victim.
so in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I
Oh
think
my
they're a
God.
fake news network, a terrible network.
He's so ass hurt.
I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black entrepreneurs. I've done so much, and you know, and I say this, historically black colleges and universities were out of money, they were stone cold broke, and I saved them, and I gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why
You're
you
being
would
asked
do
a
something
question,
like that.
bro.
I'm gonna go a step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense, and then you said you can't do it with Zoom. Well, you know, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late, just so we understand. I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working or something was
Mr. President,
wrong.
I would love
I think
you
it's
to
a
answer the
very
question
nasty
on your rhetoric
question.
and why you
I
believe
have
that
answered
black
the
voters
question.
should trust you with another
I have
president.
been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln.
He's just a brick
Better
wall.
than
He's got, okay, so this is the New York toughness, though, in him. He's just going to be a brick wall, repeat his talking points, sit up there and take the heat. That's all he's going to do, and that's going to be good enough for MAGA. Might not be good enough for him to win the election, but he was never going to do well with black voters anyway. The Latino voters, maybe, but not the black voters, if you look at the numbers.
My answer.
Better than President
That's
Johnson,
my
who signed the
answer.
Voting Rights
And
Act?
for you to start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work in such a hostile manner, I think it's a disgrace. I really do.
Let
I
me
think
just ask a follow-up, sir, and then we'll move on to other questions here.
He
Some of your
compared
own
himself to
supporters,
Abe
including
Lincoln, dude.
Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
Diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
Give me a
literally the
definition
words.
then. Would you give me a definition? Give me a definition.
Sir, I'm asking you a question,
you
very
have to
direct
define
question.
it. Define the-
He's such a
define
bully.
it for me if you
I
would.
just
Such a
defined it.
bully. He's like a
He's a
stupid
cry-
bully.
he's a
the
crybaby.
bullies come in different shapes, sizes, and colors. Don't forget, and he's just not even good at bullying. There are
He's
some people
a
who can
cry
be creative
bully.
with their bullying and like make people feel stupid, but he's just like, I'm a big, tall white man, and I can talk back to you any way I want.
be grateful that I'm even
Sir,
here.
do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always
Sarah,
identified as a black woman. She's been historically black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn, and she went.
50 million Americans, America. Don't forget, 50 million plus, probably closer to 55 million adult voting age Americans love this guy. Confederate flag waving, Bible beating gun nuts.
Yeah.
She became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you believe that
I think
she is
somebody should look into that too when you continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some
I
Republicans
really don't
have
know.
said?
I mean, I really don't know. Could be. There are some, and there are plenty. I know this lady right over there, Harris, is a fantastic person who just interviewed me at length. And we had a great interview, I think, and I heard you got very good ratings on that.
Well, you
interview.
told me it was the longest one of your life, so we had a good discussion. Look, I want to talk about why you're here today. I mean, it is not lost on us how divided we are as a country.
He pulled off redirecting, by the way. Did you notice?
No, yeah.
He pulled that off.
He has to.
He got the mic off of the woman in the blue.
And as you were coming today, we really got to see that we are divided along the lines of race, along the lines of gender. And there is this question of, in this moment where we are, why come here? What is your message today?
My message is to stop people from invading our country that are taking, frankly, a lot of problems with it. But one of the big problems, and a lot of the journalists in this room I know and I have great respect for, a lot of the journalists in this room are black. I will tell you that coming from the border are millions and millions of people that happen to be taking black jobs. You had the best.
What exactly is a black job, sir?
A black job is anybody that has a job. That's what it is. Anybody that has a job.
All right.
Stupid.
And
Mr.
they're taking the employment away from black people. They're coming in, and they're coming in.
12 million immigrants are invading
of
Ohio.
millions of people, probably 15, 16, 17 million people. I have a feeling it's much more than that. And everybody's been seeing what's happened. The first group of people, the black population, is affected most by that. And Kamala is allowing it to happen. She's the border czar. She's the worst border czar in the history of the world. There's never been a border czar like this. She's never even essentially been. She said she was there once, but not the right part of the border. So she was a border czar. She's done a horrible job. These people are coming into our country, and they're taking black jobs and Hispanic jobs. And frankly, they're taking union jobs. Unions are being very badly affected by all of the
Hispanics
millions of
are
people
taking
that are pouring
Hispanic
into our country.
jobs.
And one thing, as we discussed, many of these people are coming in from mental institutions, from prisons, from jails. They're gang members in other countries.
Yeah, this is why I said earlier, like, he needs to campaign on this. He needs to spread the fear.
They're opening up their prisons and their mental institutions, and they're taking their bad people, drug.
But it shows you that his energy level has declined because he used to be able to cover a little more ground than this. He's become really reliant, like a child going back to his mommy and daddy. To this one issue. He used to talk about other things, but
for real.
all he seems to want to talk about is the border these days.
It's just a
drug
crutch.
dealers, gang members.
He connects everything. He'll talk about fentanyl, but he'll connect to the southern border.
And they're bringing them into the United States. And by the way, their crime rate is going down, and our crime rate is going to be a disaster.
Mr. President,
it's going to be, not right now, though.
How you address some of the issues with black communities. And I say that plural because we live in communities of color that are different. We're not all the same. We don't vote the same. We don't think the same.
True.
It's not monolithic. So as you come here today, I want to talk about something that bursts. And this is the weight of the inflation on this country right now. The nonprofit Money Management International recently released data from its mid-year analysis that we have found a 52% rise in people who are seeking counseling for being in credit debt. They're paying for food that is sky high on their credit cards, and now they can't pay that off. The credit counseling nonprofit MMI, as I said, is saying now that they've seen surges that they haven't seen since we were in a pandemic of people in financial trouble. Much of that falls on the shoulders of single moms, single black moms, when you look statistically. Yeah. How do you turn it around? What's your plan for the black community when it comes to money?
So, first of all, it's very hard to hear you for whatever reason because of the fact that they have bad equipment, because I guess, you know, this woman wasn't able to get the right equipment. But it's very hard for me to hear you, but I can hear every other word. It's very difficult, actually. But so I don't know if they can fix it or do something with it, but I'll do the best I can with it.
Jesus Christ.
The inflation is absolutely destroying our middle class, our working class, virtually every class. Inflation is a disaster in our country. Inflation is a country buster. It breaks every country. And we had, in my opinion, the worst inflation we've had. They say it's 58 years, but I think it's much more than that. It's been devastating. And if you just take a look at a lot of things they don't include, like interest rates. Interest rates went from 2.4% to 10%, and you can't get the money. People can't buy houses. They no longer have the American dream. Young people, young black people, they don't have the American dream anymore. They can't buy a house. They can't borrow the money because of the cost of the money. They can't buy it because of the cost of housing, because of the cost to build it, because of inflation. Inflation is a disaster, and it's destroying our country, and it's destroying the black community.
He doesn't even know what inflation is.
So what do you do? What's your plan?
You know what we have to do? We have to bring down the cost of energy, and that's going to bring down the cost of inflation. This was all started with a bad energy policy by Joe Biden. By the way, just if I might, I was running against a man named Biden. You probably saw that. And he was losing very badly in the polls, and then he had a rather bad debate.
Time to complain about Biden being.
It was one of the worst.
Biden dropping out
in history, and his poll numbers crashed.
He's so pissed off that Biden dropped out.
No,
he's
like
so pissed off that Biden dropped out, dude.
he's
like
just riding
fit.
anger.
This isn't fair.
Yeah, no, like his post about like, you know, the Democrats owe the Republicans and the RNC a whole bunch of money because we spent all this money campaigning against Biden, and then this is like
crybaby,
the big time.
Crybaby.
Yeah, he's still salty about it. It's gonna be salty until the election. It's gonna let the hate and the anger blind him. It's. Like, look, compare and contrast the energy and vibrance and excitement and hype of a Harris campaign and this miserable interview that he decided to.
This is a hostile environment. This is a hostile environment.
Sure.
I mean,
well, sure.
You know, if the fair comparison would be from rally to rally.
Yeah, but even so, like
the comparison there would be look at the crowds.
Yeah. No, of course, but like just he would be saying this exact he'd be saying this exact shit at his rallies too, like no rhyme or reason, just spitballing, just saying the exact same talking points that he's regurgitated time and time again endlessly. We've all heard it before. There's nothing new. With Harris, it's something new. Like not even Biden was able to convey what Harris was able to convey at that rally, let alone the rallies that we've seen of hers so far. With Trump, it's just the same tired lies and bullshit. It's just embarrassing. It's just like he's a shell of his former self.
Crashed. And instead of saying, you know, let's keep going and maybe something happens the other way, they said, oh, we're going to replace him. Let's just replace him. That's like you're in a fight. A prize fighter's in a fight. He's not doing what you say, let's bring in another fighter. So our whole campaign was steered toward him, and now we have to steer toward him. But ultimately, it's the same because they have bad policy. They have policies of open borders, unbelievable open borders, horrible energy policies. They want to get rid of, as you say, gasoline in cars. They want to get rid of oil. They want to get rid of efficient heating.
Mr. President.
Environmentally, what they're doing is killing our country. They're absolutely destroying our country. But the inflation is the thing that's hurting the black worker, the black population, and every other population within our country.
What are your policy
inflation is the worst it's been, I think, in over 100 years. And they'll fact check it. They'll say it's only 58. Whatever it may be, they don't add all the numbers. They don't add the really bad numbers.
This is
and
painful.
you can check that too. But inflation, Harris, is absolutely destroying
increase the playback speed?
This country and the people in our country. Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
President, can I ask you another question
Yes,
that is also impacting Black Americans?
And that's very clear now. Good.
I'm sorry?
It's very clear. I hear you.
Okay. So Sadia Massey, someone from Illinois, an unarmed black woman, was shot the other day in her home by a deputy sheriff. The deputy has since been charged with murder. You've said police would get immunity from prosecution if you win. Why should someone like that officer have immunity, in your opinion?
Immunity?
Immunity.
I don't know the exact case, but I saw something.
How do you not?
And it didn't look good to me. It didn't look good to me. Are you talking with the water, right?
Yeah, well, police unions are not backing this person either.
Okay.
But again, why would...
They're going to be charging the officer. I guess they're charging the officer.
So why should he receive immunity?
Well, he might not. I mean, it depends. It depends on what happens. I'm talking.
He doesn't
about
even know how
people
immunity
that are
works.
in much different cases than that. We need people to protect
He doesn't know how
ourselves.
anything
And
works, dude.
By the way, in Chicago, as an example,
a
few weeks ago,
how do
July
people look
4th
at this
weekend,
guy
had
and think he knows jack
117
shit and that
shootings
he's
and
the answer, that
17
he's
deaths.
oh my god. Oh,
Because they're idiots, man. They're idiots. You can't fix stupid. You can't fix stupid.
I can't wait. I can't wait to clip these. Like I want to set as much time aside as possible because this is just, god damn, dude. It's remarkable.
Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. We need to have our police officers have the respect and dignity back. In this particular case, I saw something that didn't look good to me.
I'm starting to feel that way.
I didn't like it at all.
So can you get a little more specific back to the immunity question? Who would make those
Well, right now,
distinctions?
for the most part, people are protected by their unions, by their police unions, or by their police departments. But I'm saying if I felt, or if a group of people would feel that somebody was being unfairly prosecuted because the person did a good job maybe with crime, or made a mistake, an innocent mistake. There's a big difference between being a bad person and making an innocent mistake. But if somebody made an innocent mistake, I would want to help that person.
What would those exceptions be? What would determine an innocent
You go after
mistake?
somebody and it's a very close call and it's very dangerous. And you know, they have, the policeman's life and woman is a very difficult thing because sometimes you have less than a second to make it.
He doesn't give a shit.
Studied civics.
A life and death decision, and sometimes very bad decisions are made. They're not made from an evil standpoint, but they're made from the standpoint of they made a mistake.
So I want to follow up really quickly. You know, I find it interesting because you do talk about reining in prosecutors, especially when it comes to prosecutors that are prosecuting you. Why doesn't that skepticism apply to law enforcement?
Well, I've been prosecuted because I'm a political opponent of two people that have weaponized our justice system. I've been prosecuted. I just won the big case in Florida. Everyone said that was the biggest case. That was the most difficult case.
But dismissed.
And I just won it. Now, Biden has a similar case, except much worse. I was protected under the Presidential Records Act. Biden wasn't because he wasn't president at the time. And he had 50 years worth of documents. And they ruled that he was incompetent and therefore he shouldn't stand trial. And I said, isn't that something? He's incompetent and he can't stand trial, and yet he can be president. Isn't that nice?
Mr. President,
but they released him on the basis that he was incompetent. They said he had no memory and he was a nice old guy, but he had no memory, and therefore we're not going to prosecute him. I won the case, and it got very little publicity. I didn't notice ABC doing any publicity on it.
Because it was dismissed. The judge was biased.
I didn't notice you do any publicity on it at all. I won the case, the biggest case. This is an attack on a political opponent. I have another one where I have a hostile judge.
We have you for a limited time, sir. I'd love to move on to different topics.
Excuse you, you're the one that held me up for 35 minutes, just so you understand.
If we can move on now to the state of the race, sir, I want to get back to the campaign. Senator J.D. Vance is your running mate. He's had a lot of controversy lately, and I want to read you a few things that he has said in the past. He said the Democrats running the country are a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices they've made. And so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. He's not talking here about how great it is to be a parent. He's attacking what he says are the choices people are making to not have children. Did you know that he had these views about people who do not have children before you picked him to be your running mate? And do you agree with him?
No, I know this. He is very family oriented, and he thinks family is a great thing. That doesn't mean he thinks that if you don't have a family, it's not. I know people with families. I know people with great families. I know people with very
true.
troubled
Like
families.
he stopped himself.
And I also know people with no families. They didn't.
Because
meet
J.D.
the right
Vance
person.
literally thinks that people who don't have kids should pay more in taxes. Like he unironically thinks that. Like if you don't reproduce, you shouldn't have the same benefits as society because you're not contributing to society like everybody else is. So yeah, that's very, very bad, Donald. That's very off-putting to a lot of people.
You know who else didn't like childless people? Hitler.
Listen, things happen. You go through life, you don't meet the
Godwin's
right
law.
person.
He's not just talking about families here. He also says that people that don't have children should get less votes than those that do.
I'm just
Yeah,
speaking
no,
for
that was
myself.
it. Your vote shouldn't matter as us. Like,
He
okay,
strongly believes in family.
J.D. Vance also believes that you should, like, depending on how many kids you have, you should also be able to vote for them because, like, vote on behalf of your children. Not that children get to vote, but they like. Depending on how many kids you have, you get as many votes as many kids as you have.
Weird. He's got a weird understanding of family. It's very bizarre. He's just I mean, Walls was right. He's just a weird guy. I don't know if Trump's like necessarily weird. I think Trump's just trashy. But you know, JD is definitely
it's
a weird
like
fucking dude.
Like if like you're basically saying that like children should be able to vote, like. They can't. They can't consent to that. Like they can't consent to you voting for them. So like it makes sense.
No,
like
it's stupid.
Yeah, like
it's stupid. It's stupid. He's a stupid person. Just because he went to Yale Law doesn't make him a smart person or an insightful person.
No, of course.
And if you look at his track record, the guy is as flexible as they come. He's willing to do and say whatever he needs to survive within the system of MAGA.
Yeah.
And he got lucky with Trump's kids getting his back and playing to daddy. It's weird. I don't know why Trump hates his kids. I don't know why he would listen to him about such a big
he really does.
People with great families. I know people with
grandkids.
Not great families that don't have a family. And the people without the family are far better. They're superior in many cases, okay? He's not saying they're not. What he's saying is that he thinks the family experience is a very important thing. It's a very good thing. But that doesn't mean that if you grow up and you grow older and you don't meet somebody that would be wonderful to meet and would have been good, that's a bad thing. He's not saying that. My interpretation, you'll have to ask him actually, but my interpretation is he's strongly family oriented, but that doesn't mean if you don't have a family, there's something wrong with it.
Just one last point and then we'll move on. Just one of the bedrock principles of American life is one person, one vote. Senator J.D. Vance has suggested that someone who has children should have more votes than a person who does not have children. I just want to be clear here. Is that the position of your campaign?
Well, no, but it's not something I have ever heard before. I can tell you this. Right now
you
have
eye roll?
No, but
Watch
it's
the eye
not
roll on the
something I have
journalist.
ever heard before. I can tell you
Oh,
this.
did you see the head
right
shake?
now you have
Like,
legally,
really?
but it's not something I have ever heard before. I can tell you this.
Oh, really? No,
Right now,
you haven't heard that
legally,
before,
coming
dude?
into
Come
our
on,
country,
man.
Many from
Somebody
prisons
told
and
you
many
about
from mental
he gave very
institutions,
little
and they
thought
want to
into
give them
picking J.D.
votes.
Vance.
I don't think they should have votes. They came into our country illegally,
People
and
who
they're
are only
taking the vote
American
away
citizens
from
are
all
allowed
of the
to vote,
people in
sir.
this room that have been here a long time.
Hello.
That have worked hard, that in many cases, and you'll see this happening, if I'm not elected, you're going to see it happening. If I am, you're not going to have any problem. But you're going to see it happening a long time. You're going to see the people in this room and people outside of this room are going to be losing their jobs to people that have come into this country illegally.
Mr. President, can we stay with just kind of the state of the race right now? Because I felt like that vice president question, candidate question was right in there with that. So let's talk about J.D. Vance for a little bit. He's had some stumbles out of the gate. I don't know if you're hearing what we hear as reporters, but it's been a tough couple of weeks for him. Why did you choose J.D. Vance?
Why didn't I?
Why did you choose him? And I'm having a hard time hearing, too.
I chose him
everybody
because,
out there can, but it's hard
I'll tell
to
you
hear.
why. I chose him because he's a very strong believer in work and the working man and woman, and especially the working man and woman who have been treated very unfairly, because you have many of them in this room. But you have many of those people, they were treated very unfairly. They worked very hard and they were treated unfairly. He wrote the book that became a bestseller. The movie became a smash hit. He's a very smart guy without the benefit of having a family that has contacts, like a father that was well connected. He got into Yale Law School. He graduated in 2 years from Ohio State, summa cum laude. I mean, you take a look at, his career has been an amazing career. He started off
cares
at
about accolades,
a level
not
with
policies.
a difficult family situation, very difficult with the mother. And
He just doesn't even
father
know.
and
Like, he's
everything
not
else.
smart.
He ends up
doesn't
going
have
to Yale Law
anything to
School and was
say
one of
other
the
than what
top
we already
students,
know
became the
about
head
him.
of the Law Journal. I mean, that's an amazing thing. He's a 4-year, he was in the military with great distinction for 4 years, got out, went into business, became
I'm
successful
glad we're watching
in business.
this, but it's the same old shit. It's just gotten worse.
He was very successful in business, actually. He did public offerings and other things. And I have to believe in that. I mean, he's somebody that was born in a rough situation. Most of the people know that situation.
God, we've
because
heard
it was
about it, dude.
very well documented in his book. And I have a lot of respect for somebody that can get into Yale and become one of the best students in Yale, that meets a young woman at Yale who was also outstanding, and they get married, they have a beautiful family, but he had he's made himself an amazing life. He then goes to Ohio, lives in Ohio, and he had my endorsement. That helped. But he wins the Senate. He becomes a United States Senator. So he's a United States Senator.
So,
and so, Harris, like I respect you for your success, I respect people for their success.
The reason I asked the question is because the last time you and I sat and talked was the day that you were shot. We'd been together for much of that day. You left to go to Butler, Pennsylvania, and we didn't know what was next.
Yeah.
And 2 days after that,
I cannot understand your microphone.
I know
is so
it is
muffled.
really hard for me to
it's
understand
just
you too.
I can understand you perfectly.
Because
Whoa.
she's closer.
I can understand you,
Happy to hear that.
but I can't
Really happy to hear
understand
that.
Harris
I have a few more questions.
because of the distance, and the mics are really in lousy shape. But I cannot understand
Are you
So,
asking a question?
what you're saying.
so what I wanted to say was the last time we spoke, you said some words that were prophetic because I asked you who you wanted to choose for vice president.
Yeah.
You think has a future, that sort of thing. But you said these words 3.5 hours before an attempted assassination on your life. You told me that bad things happen, Harris, and that's why this decision is important this time. Bad things happen. You said it twice. When you look at J.D. Vance, is he ready on day one?
Does he what?
Ready on day one, if he has to be.
I've always had great respect for him.
So no.
And for the other candidates, too.
How is that not
but
an
I will say
automatic
this,
yes?
and I think this is well
How is that?
documented.
He's so stupid. How that's an
Historically,
automatic yes?
But I will say this,
Yeah.
and I think this is well documented. Historically, the vice president, in terms of the election, does not have any impact. I mean, virtually no impact. You have 2 or 3 days where there's a lot of commotion as to who, like you're having it on the Democrat side, who it's going to be. And then that dies
It's been
down,
going on
and
for
it's all
days,
about
and
the
it's still
presidential
going to
pick.
go on for another couple of
Virtually
weeks.
Never has it mattered. Maybe Lyndon Johnson mattered for different reasons of what we're talking about, not for vote reasons, but for political
He's trying to
reasons, other
distance
political
himself. He's
reasons.
like, oh, it doesn't matter. The VP
Historically,
doesn't matter
the choice
because
of
he
a
doesn't
vice
want to own his
president
decision.
Makes no difference. You're voting for the president, and
And he knows he can't
you can have a vice president
exchange
who's outstanding in every
Vance at this point.
way, and I think JD is. I think that all of them would have been, but you're not voting that way. You're voting for the president. You're voting for me. If you like
Talk
me,
about
I'm
his
going to
age.
win. If you don't like me,
Well,
I'm
you
not
are
going to win.
78.
I'm going to get my
whatever.
J.D. Vance question in.
Yeah, Vance is
Vance.
half his
I'm going to
age.
get my J.D. Vance question in. To your point and to Rachel's
78.
point, he, has a lot of opinions about childless women like myself or divorced people like yourself. Do you think? Well, my
At
point is
least it
here.
was said in a friendly manner.
My point is, My point
at
is
least
here.
it was said in a friendly manner.
My point is, do you think the Republican Party is getting a little bit too judgy about people's lives when you think about abortion or when you think about what J.D. Vance is saying?
They should have put here. They should have put her. They should have sat her here, and they should have put the nice-looking woman in the blue right in the middle. I appreciate they didn't put Fox News right here, but just in terms of personality, she hates Trump.
Oh yeah, trying to hold it together. Yeah.
I don't think. Look, I think that the Democrat Party is really the one that has the problem. I think they're radical on abortion because they're allowing abortion in the 9th month. They're allowing the
But I
death.
think it's
They're
about
allowing
freedom,
the
right?
death of a baby after the baby is born, based on
Sir,
the
that's
governor
illegal
of Virginia.
in every state in the country.
Based on the governor of Virginia,
Executing a
they're
baby in
allowing the
every
death
state
of
in
the
the country
baby
is illegal.
after it's born.
It's a
They're allowing
crime.
abortions in the 8th and 9th month.
Well, Democrats have denied.
I think they're
not
right.
true.
And I
That's
think
the
the
thing.
Republican Party is actually much less. I think I've made them much less radical, perhaps. But the Republican Party, what we're doing is bringing it back to the states where everybody wanted it. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, everybody wanted abortion brought back. They didn't want Roe v. Wade in the federal government. They wanted it, everybody
But the
wanted
majority
it
of
back.
Americans oppose
Excuse
Roe
me.
v. Wade being overturned.
They
Multiple
don't know
polls have
about
showed that,
this.
sir.
Right now, they're voting. It brought it back to the states. Now, I happen to believe in the 3 exceptions. Ronald Reagan believed with rape, incest, life of the mother. I do. I think most people do. I think most Republicans do also. But if you take a look, right now they're doing, it's an amazing thing, out of the federal government, it's in states, and people are voting. And I will say, Ohio is, let's call it a more liberal version, has been approved. Kansas, the same thing, a little bit surprising to a lot of people.
Yeah,
But the
Ohio,
people
Kansas,
are
and
now
Florida,
voting.
they
And it's taking
overwhelmingly
this issue
support
that's been going on for 52
keeping abortion rights. They overwhelmingly support it. So like even though it's like Republican legislatures and states that vote red, they want to keep those rights intact. Like so it doesn't fucking matter.
2 years, and it's torn our country apart, and it's giving it to the people to vote on, and they're voting. And many states have already voted. Others are in the process of voting, and it's bringing it back to the people and a vote of the people. And it's
goes
not
to
at all
show
radical. And again, you have to follow your heart.
It's not a popular issue. It's like no wonder this election, as well as the midterms, is and was a referendum on Roe v. Wade being overturned. Like you're hemorrhaging the women vote.
I happen to believe in the 3 exceptions. Most people believe in the 3 exceptions. Most Republicans believe.
But because he's so old, he's not dynamic enough to change. So he's just going deeper and deeper into who he is at his core. And all he's got left are the, basic talking points that he's had for 8 years now.
Yeah.
Believe in the exceptions. But they don't want to see.
Like, if he had gotten out of the way of someone else, I don't know who it would have been, but, whoever it would have been would have had a great chance against Biden, too. Like, it didn't have to be Trump. Trump could have walked away and, made an heir apparent. But his ego demands that he try to get the comeback win.
See an abortion in the 9th month or the 8th month. Almost everybody agrees to that. And they certainly don't want to see, in the case of the governor of Virginia, the former governor, I might add, who said, we set the baby aside and then we decide what to do. Meaning, what do? We execute the baby. That's a radical, horrible position. And some people want that. I don't want it. Most people don't.
Thank you. Can I just pivot really quickly to another question about, you brought up health, Harris. You're an active man. We see you golfing all the time. But if you win, you'll still be president at 82, which is older than Biden is right now.
But not mentally. Look, mentally.
God damn it.
Here's the question.
He's shot. But most people.
Would you
most people. I know many people in their 80s and their 90s that are in great shape. Some of our greatest leaders. You look at throughout the world history. The greatest leaders, some of the greatest leaders in the world were in their 80s.
But here's the question. Would you consider stepping down if you felt that your health was declining? Or would you?
Oh, absolutely.
And who would
I think I'd know.
How would you make that decision?
I think I'd know. Look, if I came onto a stage like this and I got treated so rudely as this woman,
Oh my goodness.
Boo-hoo.
and I'm fine with it because she was
Clearly
very
you're
rude,
not.
sir.
Clearly you're
Very
not.
rude. That wasn't a question. She
Sir,
didn't
you
ask
can
me a
answer the
question.
question.
She gave a statement. That wasn't a question.
I repeated
can
your
answer the
statement, sir,
question.
actually.
Yeah.
You said
I
you would.
repeated your
Oh,
statement.
absolutely. If I
Sir,
thought that I
actually
was failing in some way,
Oh my God.
I want people to be sharp. I'll go a
She's
step
giving them
further.
the death
I
stare.
want anybody running
I get
for
like
president.
I get why people just can't stand him anymore and just get out of politics and are just like blue no matter who and blue MAGA and
Yeah.
they don't really care to do their homework about what the Democratic Party is actually doing on a national level. Local level, they're probably doing a pretty good job. National level, I don't know.
It's nice to be reminded
I don't know.
of like just how like unlikable he is, and like just how easy it is to see through his bullshit that just endlessly spews from his mouth. And this lady in the middle is like no exception. Like like she's fucking probably like just as sick of him as everybody else is.
President to take an aptitude test, to take a cognitive test. I think it's a great idea. And I took 2 of them and I aced them.
Well, can I just?
I took 2 of them. But let me
It's not
ask
something you
Yeah, yeah.
brag about.
I would
dude.
like to have people running for president, and I don't mean because they're 75 or 85. I think anybody running, I'd like to do it. People say it's not constitutional. I would like to have something passed where you can do it. I think we should know. I mean, I've watched what's happened in the last couple of years under this gentleman, and our country is a mess. We have inflation. We have the millions of people falling in. We have Afghanistan, which was the worst, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. What he has done to our country, and her too, what they've done to our country, she has been a horrible vice president. She's considered the worst vice president in the history of our country.
Mr.
Don't mean to
President,
interrupt you, but would you consider taking the cognitive test
Mr. President,
I would love to
and
do
make
it.
it public?
Well, I've already taken 2 of them, but I'll do it again.
Mr.
I
President,
suggested,
how do you intend to?
I suggested, Harris, that let's take one. I said, Joe and I will go and take a cognitive test. Now, I'd do it with her, too. I would do it with her also. You know what? She failed her law exam. She didn't pass her law exam, so maybe she wouldn't pass the cognitive test.
Mr.
Are you
President,
saying she wouldn't pass? Just to be clear,
I'm just giving you the facts.
to be clear, you don't think
I'm
Harris
just
how do you
giving you the
intend,
She
and
didn't
look,
pass her bar
douchebag.
exam, and she didn't think she would pass it, and she didn't think she was going to ever pass it. And I don't know what happened. Maybe she passed it. I
Jack
She
guess
did
you-
pass it.
There's a man over
She
here. I
did in
think
fact pass
he
it.
must work
Mr.
for-
President, I would love to ask you about January 6th. You called yourself a candidate of law and order. When Time Magazine asked you if you would consider pardoning all the rioters, you said, yes, absolutely. You called them patriots. 140 police officers were assaulted that day. Their injuries included broken bones, at least 1 officer lost an eye, 1 had 2 cracked ribs, 2 smashed spinal discs, another had a stroke. Were the people who assaulted those 140 officers, including those I just mentioned, patriots who deserve pardons?
Well, let me bring it back to modern day. Like about 5 days ago, we had an attack on the Capitol, a horrible attack on the Capitol. You saw the people that were protesting and spraying these incredible monuments, bells, lions, all these magnificent limestone and granite with red paint, red spray paint that will never actually come off.
Chris said
especially in
that's
the
an
limestone.
attack
You'll
on
never
the
have to
Capitol,
about
but
this stuff.
January
You'll never see it
6th
in 100
wasn't.
years from now. They viciously attacked our government. They fought with police. They fought with them much more openly than I saw on January 6th. What's going to happen to those people? What's going to happen to the people in Portland that destroyed
my
that
question
city?
is on
What's
those-
going to happen to
my
the people
question is
that
on
tried
those
to-
rioters who assaulted
Excuse me,
officers.
you have to
Would you
ask,
pardon
what's going
those
to happen? Oh, absolutely, I would.
You
If
would
they're
pardon
innocent,
those-
if they're innocent, I would pardon them.
They've been
And
convicted.
by the way, the Supreme Court just under, well, they were convicted by a very tough system. They were, how come the people that tried to burn down Minneapolis, how come the people that took over a large percentage of Seattle, how come nothing happened to them?
False
How come the
So we're
comparison.
talking about people that were seen
False
beating
comparison.
officers with
False
flag
comparison.
dragging them down the stairs. They're on
They-
video. Have you seen that
really?
video,
Oh,
sir?
really? Well, they
you would
shot-
pardon those rioters?
They shot a young lady in the face who was protesting. They shot her in the face. You know, nobody died that day. You do know that. But people died in Seattle. Nobody died, but people died in
140
Minneapolis.
officers
You know
were
people died in
assaulted that
Minneapolis. And nothing happens, and nobody ever talks, and nothing happens to those people. But you went after the J6 people with a vengeance. And I'll tell you what about the cops that were, and I'm all for the police, as you know, but what about the police that are ushering everybody into the Capitol? Go in. What about that? Look, nothing is perfect in life. But you have people from Minneapolis, you have people just from 5 days ago in Washington, D.C., they were having fistfights and fighting with the police. They were spraying and destroying, they were desecrating our monuments in Washington, D.C. 5 days ago, and nothing happened to them. And you can't have 2 systems of justice. That's why they went after me as a political opponent, because they felt they couldn't win without doing that. And we're going to win our cases, and we're going to be vindicated. But I have to spend a lot of time on that and money. That's what they want. After the election, they won't care. Although in my case, I think they probably will because the hatred is pretty deep. But I'll tell you, they went after me as a political opponent. That's never happened in our country before, and it sets a terrible, terrible precedent.
What do you do on day one if you win? What's your first thing?
What do? I close the border. I do two things, because I can do a lot of things simultaneously. I close the border. We don't want people coming in. We want people to come in, Harris, but they have to be vetted. They have to be checked. They have to come in legally. I want people to come into our country, but they have to be vetted. They have to be checked. So when you say, what do? That, and I drill, baby, drill. I bring energy way down. I bring interest rates down. I bring inflation way down, so people can buy bacon again, so people can buy a ham sandwich again, so that people can go to a restaurant and afford it. Because right now, people can't buy food. Your grocery bills are up 40, 50, 60%, right? She's agreeing to me. Oh, she's agreeing. Thank you. I like you very much.
Mr. President, I think we are.
But it's true. Your grocery bills are up. And then they're mandating that you buy an all-electric car. You know, Elon Musk endorsed me, and he's a friend of mine. He's a good guy. He's a smart guy. But I'm against everybody having an electric car, okay? I'm very much against that. You have to be able to, if you want a hybrid or if you want a gasoline-propelled car. But, you know, we have more liquid gold, gasoline, oil, under our feet than any other country. More than Saudi Arabia, more than Russia, more than any other country. I want to use it. I want to use what we have. I want to bring down prices, bring down costs, and I also have to stop the invasion. And remember, they're taking your jobs. These people coming in are taking your jobs.
Project 2025.
I think we have to leave it there by the Trump team.
All right.
So that is the last word. Thank you so much, Mr. Trump, for coming today and joining us.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, very much. Great honor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
This discussion continues.
Wow.
Well, yeah,
That was painful.
it was.
That was
I'm so
painful.
glad it's over. Yeah, dude. No, that's how you do it. You hold his feet to the fire. Honestly, don't play patty cakes for him. Don't stroke his ego. Let him shoot himself in the foot. Let him, give him enough rope. He'll eventually hang himself, and he did a number of times there.
Have you seen the latest state polls?
I think I might have sent you the latest. I think it was Bloomberg Ipsos.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
This is Michigan. We're not going to do the averages. We've been getting a little bit. I feel like it's a little visually confusing, and it's not the way you should look at the data anyway. Okay, so first of all, you got to qualify. It's 706, not a big sample size.
Yeah,
not a big sample size.
Not that big.
Red Eagle politics. Don't never take Red Eagle politics seriously. So according to this Morning Consult poll, Harris is up either 12 or 11.
Yeah, Morning Consult.
So she's up double digits.
That's very encouraging.
But again, I'm not thrilled with the sample size. I wish the sample size were bigger because that's a huge number.
Double the sample size.
I like to see 4-digit sample sizes.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's go to their neighbor, Wisconsin. Wisconsin, Bloomberg Morning Consult, Harris +2, and Trump +1 in the other one. So just call it pretty close to even. So Wisconsin, you got to figure Tim Walz would be pretty popular in Wisconsin, being right next door. I know it's not a direct relationship, but wouldn't be nice. Now this is the big one that people are worried about. Trump +4 in that Morning Consult poll right here.
Yeah.
Okay. But these other polls indicate that might, these are smaller sample sizes.
And more recent.
But the most recent one is Public Policy Polling Progress Action Fund. Yeah. So it's a dead tie, basically. Might as well call Wisconsin and Pennsylvania ties at this point, even though a graphic on Morning Joe had Pennsylvania up 4 for Trump.
I believe the same poll conducted showed that she actually also gained momentum in Nevada and Arizona.
That's where we're going now. Yeah. Nevada, she's either +2 or even.
Even smaller sample size too.
Yep. Well, it's a smaller state, but
still,
you should still always have 1,000. Just have 1,000 people on there so people can't mess with you and tell you that your sample size is too small. Because if you have 1,000, you're at least, preferably you'd have 2,000. But anyway, beggars can't be choosers. These things are expensive. SoCal Research has Trump up 4 in, where are we? Georgia, but that was a while ago. And now it's dead even. She's going to win Georgia, man. If she wins Georgia, she doesn't need Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, if she can wrap up Michigan,
this
Wisconsin.
is the other one. Arizona was actually, another small sample size, but Harris is up in Arizona according to that Morning Consult Bloomberg poll.
Yeah, a little comfortably too.
+4.
Yeah.
You know why there's so few polls? Because they're so goddamn expensive.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you have Morning Consult did the poll, but it was paid for by Bloomberg.
Right. Let's see. 270 the win.
Someone has to step up and pay for the goddamn poll, and it costs a fortune. It costs like $100,000, at least.
Really? That's crazy. Like,
I would think so. I would think a poll costs at least $100,000. I would think a poll costs a national presidential poll. I would think costs even more than that.
right.
Yeah.
Um,
There was another one. Michigan we looked at, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Georgia, Nevada. Wasn't there another one? No, that's pretty much it.
yeah. No. So
All right.
if
So
let's see here. If the Democrats don't win Pennsylvania, but they get Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona,
Yeah,
and
they'll do it.
Nevada, they would have to win Georgia. But if they win Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, they don't necessarily need either Nevada or Arizona, one or the other. They have to win at least one of those in order to reach 270. And what's really interesting to me, I actually looked through this. Let's see here.
this is what I got.
Oh, you're already on it. I was doing the same thing on a different tab.
Yeah. So I know that the one in Maine and the one in Nebraska like cancel each other out usually. So this is what I'm looking at. North Carolina, let's just assume that goes red, even though that was the other one I was thinking of was North Carolina. Actually,
Right.
let's go check that out really quick. Let's check out
Yeah, I'm
North
curious
Carolina
about
really quick, just
that
so
one,
we've covered
yeah.
our bases. Morning Consult. Trump +2. Okay, so let's go ahead and give it to Trump anyway.
Okay.
So, oh God, get these advertisements out of here.
Yeah.
Brutal.
So this right here is the map from this.
So she would be crushing him here. That's the one I wanted to do. That's 284. Yeah. So she gets Georgia and Arizona. Now if she doesn't get Arizona, then she still wins. All she's got to do is if she gets Georgia, and Wisconsin and Michigan. Yeah. Now if she doesn't get Wisconsin, then she's got problems. If she gets Georgia and Arizona, she wins.
Yeah.
But that's pivoting off of Georgia, is what that's doing. So Georgia's a big prize.
Yeah, it really is. But if she does end up pulling through with Pennsylvania, then I don't think she needs Arizona or Nevada.
No, if she pulls through Pennsylvania, all she needs is these three.
Yeah.
If she pulls through Pennsylvania, all she needs is these three. But if she doesn't get Wisconsin, then she's going to have to get either Arizona or Georgia.
Well, it would turn Wisconsin blue, Arizona red, and Nevada red. This is what. Oh, okay. So yeah, 270 basically. No.
This is it's those three. It's always been these three. This is the Rust Belt's argument. This is the Rust Belt thesis.
Right. Yeah. So it'd be really close, but like, I think I'm optimistic. We'll just say that.
I'm
cautiously
optimistic.
Yeah.
I'm optimistic. I feel good. I feel like even with Shapiro, she'll still probably win, but
right.
I don't know. Hillary, I thought, was going to win, but when Comey came out, that really messed things up for me because calling back to, we're still, whether we like it or not, we're still reacting to 2016 politically as a nation in our national politics, and that's disappointing.
Yeah.
Because it's 8 years later. We should be over it. We should have moved on. Oh, nice. Prague is here.
Hey.
What up, Prague?
What's up, dude?
Should also be taken with a grain of salt since it is run by Nate Silver. Yes, that is true. That's why we look at the individual polls and actually look at the sample sizes and everything. Because I'm interested in, if these are all it's all hustle right now. The momentum is with Kamala. I do think she takes a hit if she gets Shapiro. She's going to piss off progressives. I hope she has an advisor that tells her you're going to piss off progressives with Shapiro. You go Walz or you go Bashir, you got a good chance. I just don't like Bashir because he comes from a political dynasty. We don't need that. That brings really nothing. Kentucky means nothing. They bring Walz in. You got a Midwesterner guy. You got a guy who used to be a teacher. Come on, man. You can't write this stuff any better. He used to be a teacher. Wouldn't it be nice if we stood up for teachers the way we stood up for military service members? Because they're doing it every day. You know, I know military people risk their lives and so forth, but a lot of time they're just training for what their job is. Teachers are doing their job, 9 months out of the year.
Yeah.
So let's celebrate them to the extent that we do military people.
I agree.
All right. I think we should wrap it up there, Stat Pat. It's been great to get you back on. Good to have you back, man.
Absolutely.
Parting thoughts for the audience?
Yeah, I did. I was a recipient. Well, I got a phone call. I was being phone banked by I believe it was the campaign for the Republican candidate for Congress running against the incumbent Democrat in my district, and it was pretty obvious. Like after a little bit, I could tell, and I got questions like what my political leanings, if I'm registered, and what party I'm registered with, what my stance on issues of abortion, or if the presidential election was held today, how would I vote, and just info about like the congressional race that is going on, and their stances and what people have said about them, and this and that, and I found it really interesting. It shows that we're in the midst of election season, and it's nice to know that my voice is actually being considered, and like I get to tell them, yes, I'm very liberal on these issues, and like this is how I would vote, because it means it means a lot to me and whatnot.
That's great.
Yeah, really interesting. Other than that, yeah, no, either way, no matter which way the vice presidential pick goes, I am. The sense of relief is turning more and more into anticipation, encouragement, because the momentum is definitely swinging Kamala Harris's way, and I couldn't like it. Not to mention, like, Trump's doing himself no favors whatsoever. So it's very it's encouraging, like I said.
Okay, so this is the map. By the way, I want to end on this note. I just thought about while you were talking. This is the targets are going to be Georgia and Pennsylvania based on this recent polling from Trump, because Wisconsin, Harris is up 2, Nevada, she's up 2, Michigan, she's up 11, and she's up 2 in Arizona. Georgia is a tie. Pennsylvania, Trump's up 4. So Pennsylvania and Georgia, Trump's going to hit real hard. That's what the focus of their election is going to be from here on out of those 2 states, because if they get those 2, then they win. They can still lose Arizona, Nevada, and Wisconsin, and all the polls show that Harris has got momentum. If she's leading now, then Trump is really worried, because her trajectory is higher. Her trajectory
is the thing too,
by several points.
That's another thing. I believe that there's still 3 months until the election. I expect Kamala Harris's numbers to grow even further from here. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see that at all.
Well, that should be the expectation, and we're going to have to work for it, is also the expectation. Never underestimate the work ethic of the conservatives. It's the only thing that they have. They have nothing but their work ethic. That's it. They have no talent outside of their work ethic. I'm talking about the people who work for the GOP. Okay? They do the bidding of the party elders. It's the most aristocratic leadership system you could think of. Okay? Mitch McConnell is a god in the GOP in terms of the infrastructure. So, of the party. So that's it for Wednesday, July 31st. It's Dieter McBusiness reminding you to know the heart but vote with the head, and you don't get change in America by asking nicely. Tune in next week. We will be back on Monday and Wednesday of next week. Until then, know the heart but vote with the head.
Have a good night, guys.
And pick Walt.
Please pick Walt.